Hey folks, Andy here. Thanks for joining me. Right, I set out to make a video about buffers, and when I turned my amp on, it went pop. So first thing to test, is it the amp or is it the guitar? Plug into another amp, give it a second to warm up, and okay, guitar and cable are working. So we know it's not the main power fuse because the light's coming on, so we're going to have a look at the HT fuse. Screw that out, remove that. Multimeter, that's the beep when you get continuity. That's good, and nope, that's a dead fuse. Okay, so let's replace it. It's a time delayed 250 milliamp fuse. Put a new one in there. Nip it up. Give it a test. We'll turn the volume to be nice and low. Give it a moment to warm up the valves, and okay. So that starts to suggest that we've got a bad output tube. Yep, another blown fuse. So replace it with another one. Those are the output tubes, those are the EL84s. So give those a wiggle, take them out, and the next thing to do is we try the amp without the output tubes to see what happens. So preheat on. There's nothing to preheat. Okay, take the fuse out and see what's happening. So there's the fuse we've just taken out of the amp. There's the original one, and there's the replacement. And if you look at these two fuses, you can see there's like a dark ring on there, suggesting that that's maybe where they've blown, that's not there on the new one. Going to do a quick continuity test. Nothing, nothing. And there's the beep. So the fuse, which we just put in without the tubes, is good. Let's have a look in the magic tin, and we want a pair of EL84s. There's one. There's a second one. We fit them into the amp. Taking care not to bend the delicate pins on them. There's one in. We'll put the retainers on after we've got this sorted out. There's the gap that tells us where to key the valve in. Oh, that's a bit on the fiddly side. Let's put it in from the other side. Those retainers are really quite aggressive and tight on this amp. There you go. Final little wiggle, and let's see what happens. Preheat, turn the master down, give it a little bit of volume, give it a moment, and promising. Okay, so that gets us valves that are working. What we now need to do is bias them. Here's the instructions that come with the Victory. Then here's the back of the amp. Multimeter set to millivolts. Now, we measure this in millivolts, although really the valves, the bias is a bias current, so it's milliamps, but we're actually measuring across an internal 1 ohm resistor. So Ohm's law tells us that we can read the same value in millivolts, which is what we're doing here. And we're looking for as close as we can get to 22 millivolts on each of those tubes. So the tubes are going to be slightly different. That's inevitable. So we need to get them both as close as we can get to the 22 value. So 21.4, that's 0.6 down. The other one's 22.6, 0.6 up. So that's well within the limits. And we've got sound.